Before we get into this video, remember to go and follow me over on Twitter to be with a chance to win one of 5 $20 Amazon gift card vouchers to say thank you for 200,000 subscribers. Also, if we hit 10,000 followers in the next week or so, I'll be doubling the giveaway to $200, so go and follow me on Twitter. Entitled Dad wants to trade a Happy Meal toy for my son's $40 toy. Let me preface this with my son loves to share. If he has one piece of candy left and you ask him for it, say it's your favorite, he will either give it to you or split it in half so you can have some. He enjoys things much more if he shares them, so you can enjoy it too. That's just how he is. Also, we are on a pretty strict budget, so he doesn't receive rewards or presents except on special occasions. Now, my son is 6, and we just came home from parent-teachers conference, and were told he was doing great. So we stopped at the store on the way home and let him pick out a toy as a reward. He picks out a $40 Iron Man toy. This toy would light up, was about up to his knee, just a cool fun Iron Man. Upon arriving home, he sees 2 entitled kids, a boy and a girl, outside playing, so he immediately wants to go outside and show them his new toy and play with them. I'm watching them from the window. I see the entitled girl kid go to her house and come back with one of the Iron Man toys that came from a McDonald's Happy Meal. The entitled girl gives the Happy Meal Iron Man to my son, grabs his Iron Man and the entitled boy and run back to the house. I run outside and am met by my son, who's crying. He tells me that they took his Iron Man and gave him the Happy Meal one as a trade. I am livid. I march over to their house and the entitled dad comes to the door. I explain what happened and tell him that I want my son's toy back. He tries to tell me that my son agreed to the trade and they are both Iron Man, so what's the difference? Meanwhile, I see the entitled kids behind him playing roughly with my son's toy. After about 15 minutes of arguing, with a very sad 6-year-old by my side, I finally threaten to call the cops. The entitled dad tells the entitled kids to give back the toy. They tell him, no, we like this Iron Man better. The entitled dad tells the kids he will get them the same Iron Man next week when he gets paid. And the kids still tell him no. The entitled dad then tells me that they can keep it but have to give it back when he gets them one. I interrupt him saying no, they cannot keep my son's toy. That was his reward for doing well in school. The entitled girl then smashed Iron Man on the floor, breaking the arm off of him. My son starts bawling, whereas the entitled dad and his entitled kids start laughing. And the entitled girl just says, oops, he can have it back now. I take my devastated son home with his broken Iron Man. It's getting late at this point, and I tell my son that I'll take Iron Man to the hospital when he's sleeping so his arm can get fixed, but he has to get to sleep so I can take him. About an hour after my son is asleep, there's a knock on our door. It's another neighbor. She tells me that she saw part of it, and the entitled dad bragged to her husband about it. She also tells me that she does daycare for the entitled kids, and they can often act like that. Our awesome neighbor proceeds to hand me a brand new Iron Man, just like my son's. I thank her, but tell her I couldn't accept it. She laughs and said that she's putting the cost on the entitled dad's daycare bill, so he's actually paying for it. I accept and invite her in for a glass of wine. Needless to say, Iron Man came out of the hospital looking brand new, and my son was ecstatic. He also stopped playing with the entitled kids. I'm not sure what happened to the dads and kids, although I like to think that their last name was O'Doyle and their car went off a cliff after slipping on a banana peel. Again, this is not what happened, just my happy fantasy of what did. Well, yeah, I don't blame you for thinking that way. Well, you know, some people are just absolute trash. Please, if this happens again, call the police on these people to teach them a lesson to not do that in future. I just feel bad for your little boy. He sounds so innocent and sweet. One thing's for sure, he's gonna have a very successful life. That is definite. Moving on to our second story. Entitled Mum demands front row seats that weren't reserved for her. So, this happened at VidCon Australia this year. My friend and I had gotten front row seats for the send-off show and we were there about 45 minutes early. Now, for those of you that don't know, VidCon is a big YouTuber kind of conference that happens in multiple countries throughout the year. Now, I actually really want to go to one, to be honest. Let me know if any of you go to them. Are they interesting? What sort of happens? 5 minutes before the show, enter Entitled Mum. She was dragging her kid to the front row. She obnoxiously cleared her throat and opened her full of BS mouth. Excuse me, we were sitting there? I glanced at my friend. I'm sorry, what do you mean by that? You know what I said. My baby and I were sitting there before and you took our seats. The kid looked embarrassed. He looked like he was 11 or so. Mom, we've been here since the last panel. Yeah, but we took those spots for the panel this morning. My friend and I just looked at her. Was she for real? My friend said, sorry mom, but these spots weren't reserved when we got here. Now the kid started to urge his entitled mum to stop. Really? Well, I left a tissue on the seat. You should know what that means since you... The entitled mum looks me up and down. Asian? Now, I am Asian, but this took me by surprise. I didn't know putting a tissue on a seat was an Asian thing. No, it's definitely not. Excuse me? Yeah, you know. Anyway, these are our seats and you should really move before the security guards take notice. We were really annoyed now. Sorry lady, but you should know that these seats are for everyone. If you think a flimsy piece of tissue will win you these seats, you are very wrong. A few people around us have now started to notice what was happening. Didn't school teach you to give up your spots to those in need? I'm sorry, but why are you in need? I'm in need of those spots. Now shove off. Well, that is fantastic reasoning. Well done. At this point, the kid was in tears of what was happening. Look, you just made my poor baby cry. The entitled mum tried to hug her kid, but he flinched back and started to run off out of the auditorium. Well, if that doesn't tell you what the kid thinks of his own mother, I don't know what does. The entitled mum took off yelling at her kid. Still in shock, my friend and I looked at each other. At this point, the lights started to dim out and we watched as the security guard shut the doors after the EM and her kid ran out. I'm happy to report that the entitled mum wasn't able to see the show at all in the end. The poor kid deserved better though. Poor thing. Yeah, I totally agree. It's a shame he's got such an entitled parent. Imagine thinking that leaving a tissue on a seat means you're reserving it, when in reality it kinda means you're littering, like come on. Now for our final story of this video. Entitled mother makes my painful commute 10 times worse. Had a run-in with an entitled middle-aged mother on my afternoon bus commute returning home from high school. What ensued was the most unnecessary rant by a person in the history of the universe ever, probably. Let us set the scene. In true Australian fashion, Mother Nature gives us a 36 degrees Celsius day right in the middle of November. Oh, of course, that's winter in Australia. 100 degrees Fahrenheit for all you Americans. I've just gotten off my first bus to transfer, but unfortunately the next one doesn't arrive for another 30 minutes. Now, this bus stop is horrible. It has a covered bench seat for 2 people, 3 if you're lucky, and standing room for 2 beside it. But again, unfortunately, due to the Earth's rotation and all that BS, the sun is glaring directly into the covered part of the shelter. This means zero shade for the seats. This means the only shade at this relatively major bus stop is behind it. To add, I am the whitest person you could ever meet. As ginger as they come with the palest skin you are ever likely to come across. My family's heritage is a mixture of Northern English, Scottish and Welsh. Well, that explains the skin colour. Living in Australia, you can imagine what this is a recipe for. If you can't imagine what this is a recipe for, it is sunburn. Lots of freaking sunburn. Enter the entitled mother of this cautionary tale. Another bus arrives at the stop and drops off another 4 people, 2 high school kids, who saw that there was no room in the shade, so sucked it up and stood in the sun, and our entitled mother, who henceforth shall be referred to as Karen for consistency's sake, with the toddler in a stroller. This stroller had a sunshade, which I'm sure the toddler greatly appreciated on a day like this. Unluckily for me, Karen did no such sucking up and stood there in her stupid wide brim hat and fly-inspired sunglasses, eyeing up the poor souls who dared stand in the spot she was most rightfully entitled to. Of these poor souls, there was an elderly couple, 2 primary or elementary schoolgirls, and myself. You, kid, move now. Sorry? I said move. Are you deaf, you stupid brat? I'm taken aback from the aggression from this woman. Why? Why do you think? I don't want me and my baby getting burned. Are you that thick in the head? I reply with great confusion, still unable to conjure up anything longer than a one-word answer. No? Karen, summoning her inner toddler, whines, but I don't want to ruin my perfect skin. At this point, everyone is just stunned in disbelief at the immaturity of this 50-something-year-old looking mother. There is a long silence, which only seemed to annoy Karen even more. She began to go redder and redder. She then yells at me. Move, you stupid effing kid. I have a child with me. It's my right to stand in the shade. I am way more important than you stupid hooligan. How the F can you be so rude to your elders, you little POS? Keep in mind that present are 2 children and her own toddler. None of us were prepared to waste any of our brain cells trying to argue with this absolute doorknob. So we just watched her like an exotic animal at the zoo, amazed at how this majestic creature could somehow come from the same effing planet as the rest of us. Well, hey, you never know. Maybe Karens are just aliens and we haven't found out yet. Karen gestures towards the elderly couple, looking for some sympathy. Can you believe how rude this child is? Didn't their parents ever tell them to respect their elders? Projectile spit came with the emphasis on, apparently, the golden rule of existence. But they, thankfully, were having none of her BS. The elderly woman of the couple called her out on the aforementioned bull. Are you kidding me? You have a giant hat and sunglasses, and your stroller has a sunshade. Stop moaning and just wait like the rest of us. Now this happens over the span of maybe 3 minutes. In all the commotion, what pulls into the bus stop but this woman's bus? This World War III scale conflict was over 3 minutes in the shade? She turns to head to the bus, yelling back at us. Expect to see a fine in the mail, you selfish buttholes. My husband is a policeman, you know. I'll tell him all about what you did to me. Get a grip, lady, yells one of the high school kids as she walks onto the bus. She parts ways with us with a complimentary middle finger and a feeling of confusion on our end. So, that was my Monday. What a good story. Anyway, that is going to do it for this video. I really hope you guys have enjoyed. If you want more, click the video on screen for more content from me. Also, remember the Twitter giveaway. Go and give me a follow over there. Link is in the pinned comment and in the description. With that being said, I will see you all tomorrow with another Reddit video.